Welcome to the Vault XL. Thank you for joining me. This commentary is pertaining to an African American male, 40 years of age. He has been arrested for sexual battery, lascivious acts, and other charges pertaining to a 16-year-old boy. This crime took place in Polk County, Florida. Very disturbing case. And the most disturbing part of the story is that there are allegations previous of this 40-year-old man working in the school system. Someone hired him, school board, administration. Why? Was there not a thorough background done on this man? And there are many pedophile sadists in the state of Florida. Thank you all so much for joining me. Hello, Skylar. Thank you for joining me. Let's get down to business, everybody. I will also play the press conference for Mr. Grady Judd, the sheriff down there in Florida, who likes to give commentary pertaining to criminals. We will play that press conference, and you'll get an idea of who this man is. And the one part I left out of the title is that Mr. Jarvis Young is HIV positive. So now we have to ask ourselves, how many boys and men has he infected with this virus and also violated underage boy children? Thank you for joining me. 10 Tampa Bay is the source.
Track coach at Lakeland High School. You're watching 10 Tampa Bay at 5. I'm Josh Sidorowicz.
And I'm Emerald Morrow in for Courtney. And we start tonight in Polk County. That is where 40-year-old Jarvis Young is facing sexual battery charges after investigators say he forced a student into an explicit act. And apparently this is not the first time. 10 Tampa Bay's Miguel Octavio leads us off tonight as we press school leaders about how he was allowed to be around children. Miguel.
Sheriff Grady Judd says the student, just 16 years old, told a school resource officer, Jarvis Young, that now former track coach touched him inappropriately and tried to perform a sexual act. That was back in August, and turns out, the sheriff says, Jarvis Young has a history of targeting minors. Young had his first court appearance just hours ago. Back in 2011, he faced another charge of conspiracy to commit sexual battery involving 2 minors. But the state attorney's office says it dropped the charge because of the statute of limitations. Young again was accused in another similar incident in 2017, but the sheriff says the family involved no longer wanted to cooperate.
This investigation goes on. He got away with this before and he wasn't smart enough to quit because he's addicted to having sex or trying to have sex with teenage boys.
It's still unclear how the school district hired Jarvis Young despite having an arrest record. The district says in a statement it is now rescreening all its coaches and doing more background checks. A spokesperson adds they hired Young in 2020. The sheriff also confirmed Young is HIV positive. Sheriff Grady Judd believes there are more students that either Jarvis Young has tried to or has sexually abused. I asked him his message to students who were afraid to come forward. He says law enforcement will believe them and will hold Jarvis Young accountable. In Lakeland, Miguel Octavio, 10 Tampa Bay.
10 Tampa Bay is the source. Let's get an overview of this heathen. Sheriff's Office deputies arrested Polk County High School track coach accused of sexually battering a 16-year-old boy. During a news conference, Sheriff Grady Judd shared details of the case. He said the man they arrested was 40-year-old Jarvis Young, a track coach at Lakeland High School, and know that he is no longer a coach at this school. His victim had told his mother that Young had touched him inappropriately on Saturday, August 26th. Per his mother's advice, the student then reported Young to the school resource deputy. Judd added that when deputies investigated, they determined that Young had sexually battered the boy. Amid the investigation, Young reportedly fled the state of Florida. As the investigation went on, deputies determined that Young had once admitted to them that he was HIV positive. "I didn't stutter," Judd said at the news conference. "He tried to have sex with a child, knowing he was HIV positive." So what I'd like to know is how did they must have jogged their memory back to what, a previous incident of dealing with this man, and he told them that he was HIV positive. This is ridiculous and outrageous. The school board needs to be sued for having this man work for them. 2020 is now 2023, so he's been there at least 3 years. There's an incident that took place, I believe, in 2011. I'm going to bring you that information as well. Then you also hear the family backed out of pursuing charges against this man. Why? Did he try to pay these people off? Were they worried about being embarrassed? Was the child worried about being embarrassed by other students in the community? Why would you not press forward? And actually, you don't have to speak publicly where people can see who you are, but you can speak on camera, audio, that you were filing charges and suing the school board for having this man working and violating your child. I'm just confused at all of this. I'm confused that he was working at a school system. I'm confused at a family backing down from allegations. Why? What was so important about this person that you felt like you would back down on pursuing charges? Please help me understand. This is horrendous. But as I say in many of my live streams pertaining to true crime, this is what goes on in America and abroad. You don't know people. Here you have a grown man who chooses children, and as Sheriff Grady said, he has a penchant for children. He's attracted to children, and he's not going to stop because he's a sadist. Most sadists don't stop because they have a compulsion. And many experts will tell you there's just no cure for sadism. You also hear in this commentary that he was, the young boy was touched inappropriately. But then another commentary I'm going to bring you is as he tried to, I guess, perform a sexual act on the boy. So which is it? Rubbing his calves, pretending to be a massage therapist, is that considered inappropriate? Many would say it was grooming. Either way, he was touching him to exact a crime against a child. Hello, Charlotte. Thank you for joining me. Before he got arrested, a press conference was given by Sheriff Grady Judd, and I'm going to play that information for you. Oh, Lordy, what a mess. 10 Tampa Bay is the source. The next source is WFLA, Channel 8 News. Polk County coach sexually battered teen boy while HIV positive, sheriff says. This is Mr. Grady Judd, infamous sheriff in Florida that likes to give commentary pertaining to breaking news and arrest in the state of Florida. Thank you for joining me.
In February is ending in.
Sorry about that.
We have been working this on a track coach who was a track coach for Lakeland High School. This person is no stranger to us. We first interacted with him in 2011, and I'll tell you all about that in just a moment. But I want to show you the track coach. This is Jarvis Young. He's 40 years of age. That's right. A 16-year-old victim told his mother that the coach touched me inappropriately on this Saturday. The mother said, well, you need to report it just as soon as you get to school, and that's what our victim did. He went to our...
Let me interrupt this broadcast because I do this during the broadcast for algorithm reasons. There's something strange about this. Why would I expect my child to go to any authority and my child has been assaulted? I find this strange. Why are you not going to the school and then the police department, or the police department first? I don't need to go to the school. I don't school resource officer. Hell no. I'm going to take my child to the police department. And I'm also going to get my child checked out by a physician. Now, I don't know where this woman was when he had this conversation with her, because allegedly this took place on a Saturday, so this would have been a weekend. Maybe the mother was at work at home, so let me ask her, ma'am, where were you when you got the phone call about the child? Or did he tell you in person? Because if you were not around visually and he called you on a phone, why would you not stop whatever it is that you were doing and meet your child and go pick up your child and take your child to the police department? That's what I would have done, because this makes no sense. On a Saturday, I doubt if there would have been a resource officer at a school. The school wouldn't even be open. Would a school be open on a Saturday? Because you're going to hear more information about him taking them to the gym and all that. So this is all odd behavior. This is strange to me. And I'm not trying to be nasty, but I listen to the information that's being revealed, and then I form my opinion according to the information. So if this allegation took place, or this incident rather took place on a weekend, why would the school be open? Why would the gym be open? I'm confused. Or was there something going on at the school? And that makes no sense either, because that would be too risky, luring him to the school, knowing that there will be eyewitnesses and people at the school and coming in and out of a gym. So I would think there would not be anybody there, and that was the main reason why he took him to the school. You're going to hear all of that as well, of the events of that day going from place to place, which is strange. How many places do you need to go to assault a kid? Or this is the grooming process, let's say. Pick you up, take you here, take you here, take you here. It's a very interesting story.
School, and that's what our victim did. He went to our deputy, who's the school resource deputy at Lakeland High School, and he said, hey, I've been sexually battered. I've been touched inappropriately by the track coach. Of course, we immediately called our detectives, and we determined he was not only touched, that he was actually sexually battered in that the track.
See, now the queen's going to have a problem, because the information that I'm going to bring to you after this audio says he tried to stop him. So what is the truth? This is WFLA Channel 8. If you need verification for the information. This is why I always bring a source, because as I've told you before, in talking about true crime, you will get a different version per news entity. So this is Channel 8 saying, Mr. Judd, Sheriff Judd saying, made a pass and did something else. Use your imagination. But the next source I'm going to bring you says the boy stopped him. So did this man touch the boy? Where did he touch him? And did he put his mouth and or hand or any bodily part on the boy child, on his own person? And that's touching, rubbing, fondling, penetration, what? Because I'm confused. This is why one of my good friends, Mr. Chris Thorns, told me, always read different articles on a storyline because they all will have different information. And this is evident with this here. Let's go back and hear Sheriff Judd repeat what he said allegedly happened in this space with the two.
That he used the school resource deputy at Lakeland High School, and he said, hey, I've been sexually battered. I've been touched inappropriately by the track coach. Of course, we immediately called our detectives, and we determined he was not only touched, that he was actually sexually battered, in that the track coach committed oral sex on him. That set a circumstance.
So the coach performed oral sex on the 16-year-old boy. But the other article that I'm going to read to you says he stopped him. So which is it? Because he can't perform an act on you if you stopped him. Was the boy afraid to tell what happened? I'm confused. Because now this is a conflict of which news agency has the right story and right version. And this isn't to say that the boy is lying, but what I'm saying is it can't be both. He either touched him or he didn't. He touched him and then performed oral sex. And as I said to a male friend earlier, the average young man who is not of the bisexual gay persuasion would have stopped him or tried to fight him, whichever, however you want to word it. Stay woke now. Hey, what are you doing? I'm not with that. Not down for that. What are you doing? And if he's a fighter, the young man, it would have been an all-out brawl, don't you think? So that's why I'm questioning this information from the two different sources. If what actually happened in that room, because it can't be this way and that way. He either touched him or he didn't. He performed oral sex on him or he didn't. The boy tried to fight him off. The boy didn't win. Or the boy fought him off and he didn't perform the act. But sheriff says he touched him and he violated him sexually. Many people are going to want some accuracy with this storyline.
That set of circumstances began on Saturday, August the 26th. He went to school Monday morning, and which would have been the 28th, and our investigation began. During the investigation,
and this is where the Queen has a problem. As I just said, on a Saturday, I would not suspect the school to be open, gymnasiums and things, unless there was something going on. But if this man has access, naturally he would, as a coach, he would have a key to open a door that would be locked. So I could see this as a part of the grooming process. Let me take him somewhere secluded, but it's still a bad idea. Why would you take a child to a school knowing anybody could still drive by, see your car, and wonder, why is the coach there? Why is the car there? Or maybe nobody would question it. I don't know. Guess it depends. But I can't see taking the kid to the school. To me, it's risque. Whether the school's open or not, I just think it's risque. And if he was out with the young boy on a personal day, which is on a Saturday, which is a leisure day, you could have taken him anywhere to try to assault the child. Why would you want to take him to the school? Number one. Number two, why did the boy wait until Monday to go to the resource officer? This is bothering the hell out of me. What the fuck is wrong with the mother? God, I wanted to try to remain calm during this live stream. I can't do it. It ain't even in me. Somebody just violated your son. You want him to wait 2 days to go report it to the school resource officer? Hell no. I'm going to the police station. I'm going to the news station. And I think I might want to go find Mr. Jarvis. How about that? Does anybody in the chat understand what the Queen's saying? Hey, Jarvis, let me holler at you for a second. We got some business to tend to. I'd have whooped that Negro to sleep. Did you hear what I said? This press conference will be going a whole different direction. Back to the head. Did you hear what I said? And then they'll be talking about me on the news because I done tried to beat the hell out of this black man for violating my child. I ain't trying to hear what you got to say either. What they say, we're going to ask questions later. This is a strange story. And it's not to say that nothing happened between the coach and the young man. But what I'm saying is that this reminds me of why he is in the school system in the first damn place. Because of lax behavior from administrators, also from the previous boy he touched inappropriately. And the parents just let it go, let it ride. Now, in this new scenario, you got a mother saying, oh, well, go to the school and tell the resource officer. What the hell is wrong with you, lady? I'm not getting ready to send my baby to go pass no fucking message about somebody touching him. I'm going to the police my damn self. I'm taking my baby down to the police station myself. I'm going with them. I don't give a damn about no job. I don't give a damn about what the hell I got to do. My child is first. And on this day, when he came to me with the news, I'm going downtown, wherever the damn place is, the police station, and I'm getting ready to talk to somebody. You hear, the boy went to the school on a Monday. So 2 whole days that went by, he's going to the school on his own by himself to tell that he was violated without his own mother there, a parent, a guardian. Are you all hearing what I'm saying to you? What is wrong with this version? I don't hear anything. And as I said, it's not to say that the incident didn't take place. What I'm saying is I'm trying to understand this mother not jumping up out her good skin and saying, we're going to the police department together and you tell them what happened. And God help Jarvis that I don't find him first, that the police get to him before I get to him, because it's going to be a bad damn day in the city. Or as we say in the street, some smoke in the city. Help me understand now, everybody. Something bad. People are too lax about their kids. No way a child should be going to anybody to tell them somebody touched me inappropriately and ain't already told their mother. The mother should have been with her son. That's how I feel about it. That's why I said if this happened on a Saturday, when and where did he tell his mother that he was touched? Over the phone? What?
28th, and our investigation began. During the investigation, surprisingly enough, the track coach fled the state of Florida and was gone for a period of time. However, as we went through the investigation, we learned this. We learned that Jarvis made admissions to us. He, by his statements, admitted that he was HIV positive. Did you hear what I said?
Oh, Lordy.
I didn't stutter. He tried to and briefly had sex with a child knowing he was HIV positive.
He tried to and briefly. Why say he tried if he did? Did he mess with the boy or not? Because see, I'm starting to wonder what is the truth now. I don't need to say he tried to. That makes no sense to say he tried. He either did it or he didn't. So, Sheriff Grady, do you know if the boy was assaulted or not? Was he kissed, fondled? Did the man touch his private parts? Did the man kiss him? Did he hug him? What did he actually do? Did he penetrate the boy or did he just put his mouth down there? And the reason why I said this is a weird story is because of the obvious. If this is a straight boy child, the first time he felt uncomfortable with him rubbing his calves to massage him, to tell him, he's trying to help him build up his strength and all that, because allegedly the boy reached out to the coach to say he wanted to build his stability and his stamina, blah, blah, blah. At some point, a boy child should be getting some type of feeling that this may be not as copacetic on the up and up. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can get a feeling that maybe this is going in the wrong direction. So let's say we're going from rubbing the calves to trying to pull your pants down. Wouldn't the boy say, hey, what are you doing? I'm not like that. Get off of me. And as I said, if he's a fighter, the coach should have been catching some blows. So did the boy run out? Went to a phone, had a phone, called his mom? Why the hell didn't the mom say, hey, come back to the house? Or see, it's open-ended, and that's where I get agitated. Don't give me a half-baked ass story. Give me the goods. I want a play-by-play. The coach rubbed his legs, then what? The coach reached for his pocket. The coach reached for his crotch. The coach reached to pull the pants down. I want to know, because right now, something is off here. He tried to, and then he did something with them. Well, you ain't got to tell me he tried if he did. Just say he touched him here, there, and did this. Because let me tell you what everybody's going to say to themselves if they're listening to the story. Why didn't the boy child fight him off? That's why I had a problem with it. So that's why I'm going to ask this one question. And it doesn't matter, but it does matter. Is this a feminine boy or a masculine boy? And nobody has the right to be assaulted by a grown-up. But it has been said about homosexual men, they know who would go and would not go. And as I said, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, because he has no business touching any child, whether the boy appears feminine or not. But I'm asking this because homosexual men watch other homosexuals. And if they see anything in that person that they think that they will go along with the program, they will try to make a pass. And it's not to say that he wouldn't do it with a boy that appears non-feminine or non-gay. But I'm confused at what really happened. And as I said, I'm not trying to say something did not happen. It's the wording that's strange to me. He tried and then he did something. So that's why I'm saying, did the boy try to fight him off? Because I don't hear any of that the boy tried to fight the adult off of him. Hey, no, stop. Don't do that. I'm not like that. So I'm going to ask the boy, did you try to fight the coach off? 2, you were scared, thought he might hurt you. You went along with the program. 3, he threatened you. You went along with the program. What really happened in that room?
knowing he was HIV positive. So it all occurred when our victim, who was working out over the summer because he's an athlete, was sore and he wanted to become more competitive. So he went to his coach and said, "Can you help me with my strength training and my speed? I need to get stronger and I need to get faster." And Coach Jarvis Young said, "Sure, I can." So he went by the victim's house on the 26th and picked him up and took him to lunch. They went to a Mexican restaurant. They talked at the Mexican restaurant for a while, and he said, "Well, I've got some weight equipment. Come with me. We'll pick the weight equipment up. We'll take it to your house." And they did that. And they started putting it together, and there were some parts missing, so they had to make a side trip down to, I believe it was Home Depot or Hardware.
What's wrong with this right here? This is where they would call this grooming. They're not getting to where they're supposed to be going. The young man allegedly is asking the coach for help, and yet he's taking him out to eat. And we've heard that many sadists do this to their victims. They buy them things. They spend money on them. They offer things, offer to help. This is to get in the good graces of the victim. Because some of you might say, "Well, what are they doing going out to eat? I thought he said he needed help with his strength training." Well, I got to lure him in some kind of way. But it's still, as I said earlier, grooming or not, buying gifts or not, taking him out to eat or not, when you get down to the get down, "Sir, what are you doing putting your hands on me, sir? Sir, what are you doing trying to reach for my crotch, sir? What are you doing trying to put your head in my crotch, sir?" You see where I'm going? "Why are you touching me there, sir? I'm not like that, sir. Get off of me, sir." That's what I'm talking about. Now we're going to Home Depot to get other parts for whatever they were trying to do. So I'm going to ask this question. You mean to tell me there's nothing at the school already put together to do the strength training? When the children work out, don't they work out at school? Football players, basketball players, soccer players, any sports, don't they have their own private gym with weights, treadmills, so on and so forth? Why are they needing to go to all these? This is strange to me. You need to go to Home Depot because he's missing some stuff. So he's offering him some things, but he don't got everything he needs. So he needs to go to Home Depot. And then what? After Home Depot, you mentioned something about going back to the house, but then you're going to tell us that what? They ended up at the gym at the school. It's a lot of traveling. I just want you to picture everything that's being said, because there's just a lot to this story that's around and around and going in a circle. To me, my opinion, it's a lot of traveling going on that makes no sense if, assumingly, the school would have all these things already. Or did he just have some extra items he wanted to give the boy as a part of the grooming process? You're entitled to your opinion.
Hardware store. And then Jarvis Young, the coach, said, "I need to put up some equipment at the school. How about going to the school with me?" Once again, this is on Saturday. So the kid goes with Jarvis to the school, and Jarvis had told him at lunch that he was a trained massage therapist. Now, we don't see any evidence that he's certified, but he told the kid that. Now, understand, he told the kid, "I'm a trained massage therapist." He buys him lunch, and he also gives him equipment. We call that grooming. So they go to the school and they start putting up whatever sports equipment they were dealing with. When the coach, Jarvis Young, said, "Hey, I'll massage those hamstrings that are causing you problems." So Jarvis begins to massage the hamstrings and tells the young man, "Flip over." And he's continuing to massage and stretch his legs. And then all of a sudden, he grabs our victim and briefly sexually batters him before the victim jumps up and says, "Take me home." He drove him home, and it was reported to us.
The deadline is approaching.
Sorry about that. So he briefly assaults the child before the child jumped up. I want you to think about that for just a second. Being a human being and being an adult. If your clothes are fastened on you properly, I think you all know where I'm going with this. Massaging the child at first, he must have been lying on his stomach. You hear Sheriff Grady say he flipped him over. So I guess at this point, once the child is flipped over, he's now lying on his back. This is when Mr. Young assaults the child. But you have to use deduction of how that would happen. And we're all grown. So I'm going to have to lay it out because there's just no other way to do it but lay it out. You flip the child over and then what? As soon as you turned him over, Mr. Young, you what? Reached for his pants? So did he have on pants, blue jeans, shorts with a drawstring, shorts with a button? What are we saying here? Because even when you go to reach for the crotch area to pull the pants down, this would be the point where the child would jump up, grab your hand. Hey, what are you doing? It would have never gotten to a sexual assault unless you forced yourself on him by your weight and your strength. Is everybody following the queen? Hello, Lo. Thank you for joining me, sweetheart. So this is where I'm confused. And I'm not trying to be insulting, but the story is off to me. Because as I said, this is conflicting versus the other information I got where he says he stopped them. So I'm trying to understand what actually happened in that room. Massaging his legs, turn him over, and then what? Goes for the crotch area. But you can't put your face and your head into something without having to pull the pants down. Unless I'm slow. I don't know. Help me understand. And at any given point, flip the child over, then say, okay, here's my chance to try to do what I'm going to do. You still have to be able to pull the pants down. Whatever he was wearing, pants, jogging pants, shorts, I don't know. Either way, they still have to come down in order for you to put your mouth on his penis. Dear God, I can't. This is ridiculous to me. And I don't want to have to visualize it, but I don't really have a choice because of what he's saying. So I'm trying to make it make sense. When he says he tried to, and then he performed oral sex. So in my right mind is at any point, however it went, standing up, laying down, sitting down, squatting, the man still had to reach for the crotch area, meaning he would have to pull the pants down. At that point, that's when the boy should be like, hey, what are you doing? Stop. So now I ask, did he force himself on him as far as holding him down and then performing oral sex on the boy child?
Reported to us. So if you can't believe that's horrific enough, we arrested, once again, Jarvis Young in 2011 for conspiracy to commit sexual battery on a juvenile when he and another adult took two juveniles to a motel to have sex. Well, we ended up making an arrest on that. However, the charges were dropped because it wasn't reported to us until the statute of limitations, as they were at that time, had expired. So this guy got away with sexual battery.
So you hear that Mr. Young has attempted to molest a child before. He and another adult took two boys to another city, I believe a hotel, to sexually assault them. Who's the other guy? What's his relation to Mr. Young? How do you find another man to get in cahoots with you to sexually assault children? But we've heard of this tag team type mentality, underground groups exchanging pictures, porn of children. So where did he meet this guy? Where is this guy now? What was the relationship between Mr. Young and that guy? Were they dating, lovers, what? He obviously has a penchant for children. He's attracted to boy children. And then you hear the statute of limitations ran out on that allegation. So then you have to ask yourself, the two boys that they took to the hotel or whatever, why didn't they go forward and tell somebody that somebody tried to touch them immediately after the incident? This is baffling. So he's been doing this, and there's no telling how many boys he has assaulted, actually assaulted, raped. Then he's HIV positive. That's a whole nother subject. Then we have to ask the other guy who was with him, is he HIV positive, has AIDS, any other disease? Does this man have any other diseases? It's a lot of questions. Then you have to also ask how long Mr. Jarvis has been assaulting boy children. Does he have any arrests in other states? Since he likes traveling with boys, he possibly could have charges somewhere else and the school board wouldn't know. But my understanding is that when you work for the government and you're working for school boards, they do a state-to-state background check. I believe it would be considered federal. So it wouldn't matter if you had charges in the next county, in the same state, another state, it would come up. So did those boys go tell their parents that this man, Mr. Jarvis, and another man assaulted them? Number one. If they did, what happened, and why would it take years for the story to come out? I'm curious to that information. And how did he get hired at this school district? Because that information should have came up if it was still in the state of Florida. And why would the school board hire him with an allegation of sexual deviances with a boy child? Then some of you are going to ask, did the men do something to the boys at the hotel? 9 times out of 10, they probably did. That was the whole purpose of taking them. And all those boys infected with HIV. How many other boys are infected with HIV if he's penetrated any of them? See, this is a deep rabbit's hole. Because now you're going from county to county. Allegations that never got justified. Parents that dropped the ball and said the hell with it for whatever reason. A mother who wouldn't even go to the police station with her own child in this storyline, as far as I know. He's doing this by himself, which is, to me, absolutely ridiculous. And then this man is HIV positive. And maybe that's why he didn't try to penetrate him. Because he knows he's HIV positive. Lord have mercy. Ooh, okay.
guy got away with sexual battery. It's also reported to us that he used to be an athlete at the school and was known to hang out prior to being hired by the school to hang out there as well. And he hung out around the sports programs. He's a classic predator, child predator. He's a classic pedophile. In 2017, he supposedly had a young man in the car with him and grabbed him on the leg inappropriately, but just grabbed him by the leg. That turned out to be a battery. But during the course of the investigation, it was reported to the police department. During the course of the investigation, the family became uncooperative, so the police were therefore unable to bring criminal charges.
The family was uncooperative. Are you hearing this? Your child has brought forward allegations of this man touching his leg. And what did you say to your child? Oh, that ain't no big deal. Don't worry about it. So you can walk around and sleep at night knowing somebody tried to assault your boy child and still in the school system to continue to violate boys until recently, the end of August. How can you sleep with yourself? See, this is what's wrong with the world right here. You have the sadists who's running around lurking in the shadows, pretending to be good old regular folk. And then you got the people who uphold them, support them, aid them, and those who turn a blind eye when they see the signs that something is off, such as these parents. So what we have to ask ourselves, why? You didn't believe your child? You thought your child overreacted? What? You got exhausted with the legalities of the storyline, the judicial process? Explain to the queen why you would drop the ball as far as your child being in an awkward situation with an adult. And usually children don't make up things like this, that somebody touched them inappropriately. That's just not something you just readily think up off your head. Oh, I think I'm going to say my coach tried to touch me. Where would a child even get the notion to even make up something like that anyway? Then we have to ask the ultimate question pertaining to Mr. Jarvis. Jarvis, were you molested as a boy child? Is that a possible reason why you are fascinated with boys? You were violated as a child. You were molested as a child. And then you became a child molester. We have Mr. The Sheriff Grady here saying you hung around the school after being hired. Of course. Where else would you be hanging? You like boys. So you're going to hang around a place that has boy children, which is the school. Sounds like an R. Kelly song to me. That's what R. Kelly did after high school, dropped out of school, and he was hanging around the high school after dropping out. Because where else can I pick up children but at the schoolhouse? Many of you did not know that about R. Kelly. They said it was known all over the city. He hung around the high school looking for girls. And we now know boys too. This is bad. This is really bad. If these people at the school, such as the adults, not the children, heard gossip rumors about the coach, did any of them ever go to the administration to say we're hearing stories pertaining to Mr. Jarvis Young, that he is rumored to be messing, touching, whatever, groping the kids? I'd like to know if the school got any allegations from an adult. Number two, any children. Number three, any parents. Any allegations pushed under the rug? Did they go in and find out he did get arrested and they still didn't do anything and let him continue to work there? Or number four, let him work there knowing he had the impropriety with the other kid and said the hell with it. We need a coach. Will they take responsibility for hiring Mr. Young, the Lakeland School Board?
During the course of the investigation, we picked rumors up, and that's why I'm classifying them today clearly as rumors, because we've not run this information to ground and don't have it solid in writing yet. But the rumors were around Coach Jarvis Young. Hey, he'll give you stuff, but don't let him touch you. Did you hear that? The kids that knew him from sports said he'll give you stuff, but don't let him touch you. That tells us one thing clearly.
Yeah, that tells me something clearly too, Judge. Mr. Judd. This is crazy to me. He liked touching children. That's what it says to me. And that the children talked about it, probably joked about it. Yeah, he'll buy you this, he'll take you out to eat, but don't let him touch you. Do you know how sinister that sounds? For a child or children to be spreading this around to one another. He likes to touch you. So this is why I asked, did any of the staff members at the school hear the rumors? Notice anything suspect between he and any of the students? Witness any touching, groping, fondling, rubbing on her hair, shoulder, what? Because naturally, you'd be a fool to rub a boy child or girl child in public in an inappropriate manner. But he could have been the type that's always chummy with the kids, if you get my drift. You know, rubbing their shoulders, giving them a hug, patting them on the head, rubbing their head. Seems innocent enough until he starts putting his hands in other places that they don't belong. Did the school staff hear the rumors that Mr. Young was touching the boys inappropriately or acting inappropriately toward any boy child? And as I said, did the school board ever get wind of any allegations and pushed it under the rug?
That tells us one thing clearly. He has battered, possibly sexually battered, inappropriately touched other kids for that rumor to spread among them.
Exactly.
We strongly believe he has inappropriately touched, battered, or possibly had sex with students in the past based upon the rumors that swirl around him, and they continue to swirl upon his arrest. It's imperative that if your child has been battered, inappropriately touched, whether it's a misdemeanor or not, that you report that to us as soon as possible. It's important to understand that our school officials, Mr. Hyde, our superintendent, who is a remarkable superintendent, does a really great job, is angry to say the least. He is...
Well, people are going to question his role as a superintendent, sir, because what they're going to ask is, was he the guy who hired Mr. Young? Or he wasn't working there at the time or in the capacity to do the hiring? So the superintendent that you're speaking of is highly upset. Is he highly the one that hired him? How about that? Because that doesn't mean anything to me if the superintendent is the one that hired Mr. Young. So who is the person that hired him? He's only been there roughly 3 years. So I'm going to say it again. Who hired Mr. Young? How is it that you all didn't know he was brought forward as a suspect in groping some children? And if you did a statewide background check, the allegation should have came up. Doesn't matter if somebody dropped the charges or didn't follow through or didn't show up for questioning or to give written statements or however it goes. The allegation still should be on paper, and it should have came up. So that's why I asked the question, did the school hire him anyway, knowing there were allegations against him, or they just said the hell with it? Well, he's got good credentials, and this is the only thing we can see so far, and he wasn't charged with a crime. The people didn't follow through, and the statute of limitations ran out. We just hire him any damn way. This is a very bad look for this Lakeland County School District. And I'm wondering if there's going to be any reprimands to whomever worked there at the school, and for the school board. Who hired him? That's what I'd like to know. And is it this same person he's speaking of, the superintendent, Mr. Sheriff?
He is preparing or has prepared a statement that he's going to release to the media. However, he's doing a deep dive into all of this, saying why was this guy around the students, and what was the history, and what did we know, and when did we know it. And he's taking some proactive measures now that it's come to his attention. Those that may want to be critical of the superintendent need to understand he's got 13,000 people that work for him. And if somebody hears something or sees something and they don't tell him, they don't say something to the appropriate people, then it's very difficult to react.
So now we're making excuses if they don't tell it. Well, the children were talking, so that's why I was saying if the children were gossiping, the staff should have been hearing the same thing at some point. The staff should have been hearing the same rumors. And it's not to say that they didn't hear it, but I would assume at some point somebody at the schoolhouse that was an adult heard the rumors about this coach. So did any adults hear rumors that he was messing around with the children, touching them, buying gifts, so on and so forth? And did they not go to another entity such as law enforcement, the school board, to release their complaints? And if they didn't do it, why not? You have an obligation to protect the children. And I would assume you took an oath, such as being a social worker, a doctor, a nurse. It's all the same. A mental health professional. Do no harm. First, do no harm. You also heard him say something about doing a background check on all the teachers. Well, you just said he's busy. He has a lot of people to watch over, 13,000 or so. But the computer does all that. Last I checked, the computer system runs the names automatically. So he wouldn't actually be doing it himself, looking up the people to see if they have broken the law. The computer generates the name, and if something comes up, then it'll be on the radar, and then you'd read the information. Oh, I see that such and such got a DUI or a domestic assault or speeding ticket, whichsoever. Please don't make excuses. Because this is the reason why Mr. Jarvis Young has been able to exact his behavior out on children. It's because usually people turn a blind eye and they don't do anything. Even when they're hearing rumors, even when they're seeing odd suspect behavior, they turn their head. And you cannot turn your head when it comes to abuse of a child, neglect of a child, sexual assault of a child, grope and grooming of a child. You owe the child more than that. And if you're going to be in this line of business of teaching children and you see that something's nefarious going on and you say nothing, you have no business in the school system. Period.
But do we believe there were people that knew that he had inappropriate contact with children? You betcha. And we need people that saw something or heard something to say something. This investigation goes on. He got away with this before and he wasn't smart enough to quit because he's addicted to having sex or trying to have sex with teenage boys. He's already HIV positive. We suspected him of being HIV positive in 2011, but he's admitted to us that he was, and we're taking him at his word.
So now we have to ask ourselves, why did Mr. Young tell them that he's HIV positive? See, what's going to make it worse? He'll probably, hey, I won't face the death penalty. They find out anybody he's raped or assaulted has HIV, and they contracted it from him. So, Mr. Young, I'd like to know, why did you tell the officers or detectives that you're HIV positive? What was the point in telling that? You had to know that, had to have known, rather, this would exacerbate your situation with the allegations by the young boy. Because indeed, if you had any type of sexual relations with him where there was penetration, any type of semen passed, that you have a great chance of infecting the young boy. And if it can be detected that you are the culprit of the disease, virus, you could possibly face assault or even death. Because it is a death sentence to some, especially if you don't get any treatments. And the treatments aren't free. The HIV meds, you don't give a fuck. You don't give a fuck. Because you don't even care about yourself. Because one, you know you don't have any business messing with people's children. You want to go out here and solicit men, you're a homosexual man, that's your business, your preference. You're entitled to like whomever you want. But you do not have the entitlement to be attracted to boys. Thousands of men out here who like men. Why don't you get a grown-ass man? How about that? What is your fascination with boys? Because I believe 9 times out of 10, you were molested as a boy child. Most child molesters were molested as children. And it's not your fault if somebody molested you, but you have to take accountability once you become an adult. Hey, I need to get some help. I am attracted to boys. This groping, fondling, touching sexual acts with men now has me liking men. And there are probably a lot of men who do like men because they were touched as children. May have liked girls down the road, but the deviance usually weighs higher. We know this. The deviance usually weighs higher. How many boys has he sexually assaulted, either by groping or penetration? Has he infected any of these young boys with HIV? Has he infected any men with HIV? Now we have to go to the ladder of those men who are bisexual who partook in sex acts with Mr. Young and they mess with women. Will we hear stories of some women who are now HIV positive who got it from a man who messed with Mr. Young? You see, the hole is way deep. And now you're inside of a jail with men who are either gay or bisexual. How about that? So now you can spread more HIV in the damn jail. Lord have mercy. Can't make this stuff up.
Taking him at his word. Okay, are there any other questions before I wrap up?
Sheriff, I know you kind of laid out the situation before and how the charges were dropped, but how concerning is it to you? I don't know why they're...
Sorry. Intermission. I guess the reporter's asking about charges being dropped. Hopefully these won't be dropped, and hopefully everybody will cooperate.
Well, once again, it is disturbing. It is remarkably disturbing. You know, we have a rule of law, and we have to respect that. But there was an arrest record on him. So before he was allowed to be a paid coach, he was not a school teacher. He was just a paid coach. That's all he did. Before he was allowed to do that, what kind of background did they complete?
Exactly.
At the school? That's a lot. That is a lot of questions, and the questions that the superintendent has right now. And the superintendent's going to do a deep dive and get answers to all of that. But the reality is, when they hired him as a track coach, he had a 2011 arrest history.
Exactly.
Even though he was found not guilty, or they had to drop the charges because of the statute of limitations. So there was a proclivity for him to do things that were inappropriate. And for those of us who deal with these issues, we know that the people who engage or try to engage in this kind of behavior, statistics and research shows us, don't change what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So someone should have done a background, an appropriate background, and said, hey, dude, we know that you weren't convicted of anything. We know you were arrested for it, but we just need to move on.
The way you described it made me think of the doctor arrested associated with switching with gymnastics. It's kind of that trust between the athlete, the doctor, athlete, and coach. What do you think this portrayal of trust is?
Well, it's evident to me. He's an athlete. He wants to get better. He goes to his coach. And he says, hey, coach, I want to get stronger. I want to get faster. His coach takes him to lunch, buys him lunch, grooms him, gives him weight equipment, takes it home, helps him put it together, and then says, oh, by the way, I need some help down at the school preparing some sports equipment. So he goes to the school with him on a Saturday where he's alone. He's already groomed him at lunch after our victim says, man, I'm sore from all these workouts. Hey, I'm a massage therapist. You know, I'm angry. The community's angry. And every mom and daddy are angry. Make no mistake about it. This guy here is evil that will groom a 16-year-old kid, take advantage of that position of trust in order to sexually batter him. And when he made that abrupt action, the kid jumped up and said, take me home. But there are thousands upon thousands of school teachers in this Polk County school system that
I'm going to interject here. We got less than 5 minutes of audio left. If indeed he took him home after sexually battery of the young boy, why didn't the mother take her son to the police department and or call the police department? I'm confused at this action. I don't understand why in the hell you would wait almost 48 hours to have your son notify the school resource officer. That makes no sense to me. So for all those hours, what are you all talking about at the house? What this man has done to your son? I want you all to think about what I'm saying. Grady is saying the boy jumped up. So now you're saying he what? Rode in the car with his batterer. So what was that conversation like? See, there's so many questions where this doesn't add up. Makes no damn sense. Don't tell, I promise. I'll do whatever you want. Please, I don't want to get fired. Blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get in trouble. Woo, woo, woo. Can you imagine this ride? The walk, the ride in the car, all the way to the house. Everybody's now on pins and needles, worrying about what the other one's going to say and do. He tells his mother, allegedly. She makes him wait under 48 hours. This makes no fucking sense to me. And I have a problem with you, lady. Because I want to know why you didn't, one, call the police when your son told you what happened with the coach. Why would you ask your son to go to the school to tell it? I ain't never heard of no shit like this before. Well, now, Johnny, when you go to school on Monday, you make sure you go to the resource officer and tell him that your coach touched you inappropriately. And I'll wait and hear what happens when you get back from school. Who does that? But this goes to show you people don't give a fuck about their kids, because this is the reason why he was able to go to work for this school district, because statute of limitations went on and on and on, because you all don't think it's no big deal to rape and sexually assault people. You don't consider sexual assault like you do murder. But now laws are changing to where it doesn't matter when you did it. We find out about it, we're going to arrest you. You're damn right. But I'm trying to figure out the parents' motivation in the last situation and why that went on and on and on and nobody knew anything. And when did the kids actually tell that he touched them? For it to be, for the statute of limitations to run out on that case. And why did school district hire him when that should have came up, that he got arrested for that first incident in 2011? What the hell is wrong with everybody? And now everybody want to hold a press conference for breaking news of a man who's been having access to children in a school capacity, and he's already done messed with some little boys before and took them to a hotel with another grown-ass man. And then we got the stupid mama here. I don't hear that she went to the police station or took the boy to the police station. Sheriff Grady says, oh, she told him go to the school on Monday and say something. No, we're not waiting till no Monday, baby. We going to the police department right now. Or we calling the officer to come to the house. Either way, 911 would have been on the radar. And I would have found him on my own, Mr. Jarvis Young. Hey, Mr. Young, I want to holler at you about my baby. My baby says you touched him. You put your mouth on his private part. Is that true? See, had a man heard this story and he cared something about his son, it wouldn't have been no talking. It wouldn't have been no going to the resource. It would have been a new case said. It goes something like this. Track coach found dead. In the story. Did you hear that part? Track coach found beat to sleep. Track coach found with his head split wide open. Track coach found shot to death. Multiple times. Track coach missing. Anybody out there listening to what the Queen is saying? It wouldn't have been no more repeat of statute of limitations. Hey, let's wait 48 hours to go tell the police. Track coach would have been down. That's what the storyline would have read. Track coach, no more. Will he get out? Bond, pretrial release, bail. Because we have seen with many crimes, even with murder, that people have been allotted the opportunity by a judge to get a bail or a bond. So when we look up and see him walking around, and now he's in a jail surrounded by men, whether he likes men or not, he's still of the flesh, if you get my drift. And somebody in there will still have sex with him, knowing he's HIV positive.
So school teachers in this Polk County school system that work hard every day, and they do what's right, and they make children better, and they help them. This guy, as a coach, has embarrassed the school system, but make no mistake about it, he is the rare exception to the rule. Our goal, though, is to appropriately take him before a court and let the jury decide whether or not he needs to spend a very long time in prison, and they'll make the final determination. Yes, sir.
Going off of that story, a lot of survivors might be afraid to come forward and either hear that they won't be believed. You mentioned there might be.
Well, the reporters talking about survivors feeling like maybe they won't be believed. Maybe that's what happened with the last case. The child was embarrassed. The parents were embarrassed, afraid of backlash. But as I said, a child's name is supposed to remain anonymous in cases such as this because they're underage. And the parents, you don't have to come forward to let everybody know it's you and your child. You can speak to the news entity without being seen. It would have been a John Doe case against the alleged Mr. Young.
There might be more students who might be a victim of this. Do you have a message for them if they're just afraid to come forward?
Yeah, thank you very much. My message to the students is we're going to believe you, and we're going to protect you, and we're going to make sure you have any counseling or infrastructure for support that you need. But you can't allow this bad man to hurt anybody else. Emotionally, physically, you've got to help us. We need to know everybody that he has attacked or tried to attack. And predators, sexual predators, and pedophiles don't attack with violence. They attack with Mexican lunches and free exercise equipment and being your friend and wanting to make you more competitive in the world. This guy took advantage of a child. We know he took advantage of other children, but because of our law, he escaped that one. But we know there are other victims out there. We know there's one victim of a battery that before the police could finish the investigation, the family said, we're over this. He just grabbed him by the leg. Enough of that. That's not acceptable.
Exactly.
We want to, as I say with my vernacular, we want to put him under the jail for a very long time. And we believe, anecdotally, from experience in the past, there are other people out there that can help us ensure that he never can be around children again, that he's locked up in the prison system where he needs to be. Okay?
How long is that statute of limitations, and how does that play a role in this particular case?
The statute of limitations at that time, I believe, were 4 years for that particular charge. It varies. Since then, the legislature has changed the statute of limitations, and I believe, depending on the sexual event, that there is no statute of limitations any longer. I haven't had the chance to research that before this press conference, but we've always had no statute of limitation for capital sexual battery on a child under 12. There was a statute of limitations at this time in 2011, but since then the legislature has changed that to where I believe there's no statute of limitations on sexual battery or sexual battery of a child now. I'll have to research that, but I know one thing for sure. August 26th of this year is clearly within the law. And he's going to get him a whole bunch of the courtroom. Yes, sir. The investigation is still underway. We are looking for other victims at this time. Okay? Thank you very much. Have a good weekend. God bless you.
WFLA Channel 8 News is the source. That was Sheriff Grady Judd giving his commentary pertaining to this Polk County track coach who has been arrested for an alleged sex crime against a teenager. Jarvis Young, 40 years of age, African-American male. He was also arrested back in 2011 for the same behavior, but statute of limitations ran out. I do not know when the person or persons brought forward allegations against him then, but the charges were dropped and he has continued to work in the school system up until August of 2023, when the 16-year-old brought forward allegations. If you need to refer to the information of how this crime came to be, please go back to the beginning of this audio. I do talk in between the statements as to bring more clarity to the information and ask the pertinent questions pertaining to the allegations. I will bring you one more source as to make sense of what actually happened between the 16-year-old boy and Mr. Jarvis Young. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BigAngie 129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream. What happened in that gymnasium with this Lakeland High School coach who has been charged with battery, lascivious acts, and other charges? Will we hear that other children have been molested and or infected with diseases and or HIV, AIDS by this coach? Who is the other man who went to a hotel with him years ago with 2 boy children? Where are those boy children now? I'm assuming they are adults, perhaps. That would have been 12 years ago. Who is Jarvis Young? And what else will we learn about his past, his behavior? WFTS Tampa Bay ABC News is my next source. A Lakeland High School track coach has been arrested after accusations were made of sexual misconduct with a 16-year-old boy. According to the Polk County Sheriff's Office, Jarvis Young, 40, was arrested on charges including sexual battery by a custodian victim between the ages of 12 to 18, lewd and lascivious behavior by a 24-year-old or older with the victim between 16 and 17, and other charges. The sheriff's office said the investigation began on August 28th after the victim, who was a student at the school, told a school resource deputy about what happened. The victim in the case told investigators Young was allegedly giving him a massage, moved his shorts, and tried to commit a sex act on him. The victim said he stopped Young. Repeat. This article says he stopped Jarvis Young. But the commentary I brought to you by WFLA, Sheriff Grady says he tried and he did perform oral sex on the boy. So as I had stated during that earlier part of this live stream, which is it? He rubbed legs, he rubbed arms, he rubbed buttocks. He did what exactly to the boy child? Because all that's going to matter as far as bringing forward charges against Mr. Young. This commentary says the boy stopped him. He said he gave him a massage, moved his shorts, and tried to commit a sex act on him. So when we say move the shorts, he tugged from the bottom, the side, the top of the shorts. He pulled them down, didn't pull them down. The boy stopped him in mid motion of him trying to pull the shorts, pants down, jogging pants. What was he wearing? Because I'm trying to understand exactly what actually happened. He attempted to try to take the boy's shorts down, or the boy stopped him. But it can't be both. It can't be he tried, because if you tried, it means you didn't get to follow through. He did the act means he followed through. So which is it? Young has a history with the Polk County Sheriff's Office. In 2011, the Polk County Sheriff's Office said Young faced charges after being one of 2 people accused of picking up 2 juveniles they were mentoring and taking them to another city where the victims were sexually battered. The charges were later they were later no bill due to the statute of limitations. We have a rule of law. We have to respect that. But there was an arrest record on him. So before he was allowed to be a paid coach, he was not a school teacher. He was just a paid coach. That's all he did. Before he was allowed to do that, what kind of background did they complete at the school? Said Sheriff Grady Judd. That's a lot of questions, and the questions that the superintendent has right now. Polk County Public School Superintendent Fred High said the school system will be investigating how Young was allowed to become a coach for Lakeland High School. So, Mr. High, were you not working at the school at the time that he was a coach in 2011? for Polk County schools. Perhaps you were not the superintendent at the time or not the person doing the hiring. Are you the person that is in charge of hiring? That's what I'd like to know. Was Mr. Hyde there in 2011? And two, if he wasn't, what is his job title and what is his job function? Who does the hiring for the school system? How about that? And was Mr. Hyde working at the school in any capacity, superintendent or not? I'd like to get all that 411 information. Polk County Public School Superintendent Fred Hyde said the school system will be investigating how Young, once again, was allowed to become a coach for Lakeland High School. Our students and families should expect to be safe in the presence of school employees and coaches, Superintendent Hyde said. The allegations against Jarvis Young are deeply disturbing. Although he was never convicted of any past incidents, I am extremely troubled that he was involved with our school system in any capacity. The school district said Young no longer has any involvement with Polk County schools. It said he became a volunteer coach in December of 2020. Very interesting. Not a teacher, but a volunteer coach in 2020. He also will be pulling a list and rescreening coaches who work with PCPS students, as well as other individuals who work with students in extracurricular programs, said the superintendent. Furthermore, we intend to increase the frequency of our background checks and add extra measures to evaluate any past reports of inappropriate behavior. Yes, you need to be doing random checks on your teachers, period. Teachers, volunteers, staff members at the school, be it they're a janitor, substitute teacher, bus driver, volunteer workers, it doesn't matter. Anybody that sets foot in the school and does any type of work at the school needs to be investigated if there are allegations, number one. Number two, a thorough background to work at the school, and also the volunteer. So maybe that's how he got through the hoops, being a volunteer coach. I don't know. But at one point, Sheriff says he was a paid coach. So that means there should have been a background on him once he became a paid coach and not a volunteer. Once again, they intend to increase frequency of background checks, add extra measures to evaluate any past reports of inappropriate behavior. Detectives with the Polk County Sheriff's Office believe there is a possibility that there are additional victims who have not yet come forward and urge them to contact the Polk County Sheriff's Office at 863-298-6200. My message to the students is we're going to believe you and we're going to protect you and we're going to make sure you have any counseling or infrastructure for support that you need. But you can't allow this bad man to hurt anybody else emotionally, physically, said Sheriff Judd. You've got to help us. ABC, Tampa Bay, WFTS is the source. Thank you for joining me. I've brought you 3 sources of information pertaining to this storyline. Each one has different commentary. The commentary with Sheriff Judd Grady states the man attempted and then sexually assaulted the boy child with oral sex on the boy child. This commentary says he stopped Mr. Young. The boy child did. This is why I asked all these questions at the beginning of this live stream. What actually happened in that room? Was there contact made from organ to organ, mouth to organ? Why would a boy allow him to unless he was forced physically? And I think we all know what physically means. He pinned the boy down and did whatever he did to him. He is HIV positive. He had an allegation against him in 2011. Statute of limitations ran out. He somehow made it through the cracks to work for the school system. So we have to ask, did they do a thorough background check on him, or he's never had a thorough background check? Perhaps he came in as a volunteer coach in 2020, and then somebody decided to hire him, and no one did a check because he had already been working with the kids, and somebody just gave him a pass. Or they saw that he had a criminal arrest in 2011, but it was a no bill and dropped, so they let him on board anyway. What is the truth? And who's going to stand account for doing a background or no background check on Mr. Young? How many boys has he assaulted? Number 2. How many has he actually physically penetrated? Has he raped any men, grown men? Is it just boys only or boys and girls? How long has he been assaulting children? Who was the other guy who went along with him assaulting 2 other boys in Polk County? This is why this is going to be a problem for many people, because it's the same county. And you only have a few towns and cities that are in a county. So word travels fast about any type of gossip. So if you got children gossiping about him, oh, he'll give you things, buy you things, but don't let him touch you, then 9 times out of 10, as Sheriff says, adults heard it too. And why didn't it get put on radar? Why did that family drop the situation pertaining to him assaulting their child, grabbing their child's leg? Maybe they just felt like, well, maybe he was just horsing around. We're not going to make a big deal out of it. But at some point, you probably heard the rumors. So that's why I'm trying to get to the bottom of what actually happened between the two. And is this the issue of this man threatening the boy? But obviously the boy wasn't too threatened, because the mother says he did go to the resource officer. So he did tell. But I'm trying to understand her motivation. Why she wasn't with her child to report the incident, because I do not hear that she was. If she was, I stand corrected. But going a whole 30 plus hours, 48 hours, and not calling the police as soon as you get the information is baffling to me, and it's disturbing, and it shows a lack of concern for your child, if indeed you waited that long, ma'am. A boy child or girl child has no business reporting a crime to law enforcement on their own unless they were kidnapped and was able to make it out to safety to call 911. But if you were told that your son was assaulted by this man, you should have been right there with your child. And that's my public opinion. Will there be lawsuits against the school board? Will other children come forward with their parents? Will there be other boy children claiming improprieties done to them by Mr. Young? Civil suits for those that were in the realm of statute of limitations. Because you can always sue someone civilly, even if you can't get a charge judicially. What is going to become of Mr. Jarvis Young? Has he worked in any other school districts in any other states? How about that? They say he went to school here, so possibly he has some affection for Polk County. So now we got to go back in history. Will we hear of other rumors of him being a sexual sadist as a teenager, preteen, adolescent? Was he groomed by an adult male? If so, who was it? And was it a school official, coach, teacher, volunteer? Stay woke. Most molesters molested as children. They grow up to be molesters because they do not get any therapy to counteract the demons that are inside of them. Was he molested as a child, Mr. Jarvis Young? Was he ever assaulted by a school teacher, school official as a child in Polk County? Will we hear that he was also sexually assaulting and groping boys while as a school student child? And the people who dropped the case pertaining to their boy child in 2011, will they now come forward, or that child is grown, he will come out on his own? Will we hear from this young boy's mother, parent, guardian, the 16-year-old? And will there be lawsuits against Polk County School District? And is there somebody still working in that school district that hired Mr. Young? We will see. In researching this information to bring to you this morning, it's like any subject you put into the YouTube search engine, other stories will come up that fit the due bill of that subject matter. And what was sad is story after story after story of men, women, whomever, who have violated the trust of children. So in searching for this story, all these other stories came up of men who have violated and sexually assaulted kids. And it's sad and it's sickening. And it's no different than if I research a murder story. Various stories will come up in the queue in similarity of what I'm searching for. This goes to show you how jacked up the world is. And it could be 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 9 months ago, 2 years ago. It doesn't matter. It's in the queue and it's a story. And it shows you how whack the world is. That there are sadists out here. There are people out here lurking and preying on people. You do not know people. Smiley face, nice car, shiny car, attractive, handsome, educated, pretty. All of that is a facade. You do not know people. And Miss Ruby Frankie and her cohort, Jody, Hildebrandt, Daybell, Chad, Lori. The list is endless of sadists out here. People perpetrating to be kind, nice, therapists, life coaches, YouTubers, vloggers, bloggers, whatever you want to call them. You don't know people. People are abusing students. People are abusing their own children, other people's children, assaulting men, women, children. It doesn't matter. Even animals. The world is jacked up. It's whack. And you have to talk to your children about various subject matters as so your child does not become a victim. And it doesn't mean that they won't, even if you discuss certain evil acts. But children need to be aware of what is out here, sadly. And it's up to you to decide what age is appropriate to give that type of information to your children. But children need to know that there are demons out here and that they need to be aware of their surroundings. And if anything feels uncomfortable to them, they need to try to get themselves out of that situation as quickly as possible and call 911. Prayers to the victim, prayers that the family will do right, this woman, mother, whomever, and they will follow through with this case. And anybody else who has been assaulted by this man, that they come forward and give the information to detectives pertaining to the behavior and any nefarious acts done by. And the other man who went along with him and the other 2 boys years ago, he needs to be brought forward on charges because he is also a pedophile. And also prayers to any young man who is now grown, or any children, or anybody else who has been infected by HIV from Mr. Young. This is a very serious situation because you not only have a case of a pedophile walking around and has been messing around with children and doing God knows what, he has HIV. So it's even more detrimental, this storyline. And as I said, the rabbit hole is deep. And it is obvious that it is deep. The fact that there rumors were circulating around that this man is good at giving gifts, but don't let him touch you. When you have children discussing something like that, adult matters, that is bad. And that's why I find it strange this went on as long as it did. Because from 2011 up until now, that's 12 years. That's too long for anybody to be gossiping about a pedophile, especially a child. What does it look like children laughing and joking about a man touching children? It's not funny. It's not funny at all. But you've heard the stories as adults. He likes to touch. She likes to touch. He likes to grope. You heard about men always want to grope women, touch women, sex talk. Everything sexual in nature. That's a sicko, a wacko, oversexed heathen, bum, sadist. And many people believe there is no cure for sadism. Maybe not. But what we have to let these people know, we're not going to let them run around to assault the human race. That's first and foremost. Will Polk County be brought up on any charges for negligence to the children in the school district? Will anybody bring forward a lawsuit against this school and Mr. Young? So far, I didn't hear that he was married, dating, or had any children. Amen. Right now, he's a Lone Ranger. But it'll be also devastating to hear that he's had other cohorts with him in violating children, involved in any type of underground activity, dark web, sharing pictures of children, assaulting children. And I was reading that earlier. One man filmed his sexual acts against children. Why would you do that? You're already violating the kids. Now you have the audacity to save data of you touching the children, assaulting them. But you've seen this with sicko, wacko men who like filming women. See, that's, to me, a sign that you're sick. Because it's one thing to ask a woman for a picture. She sends you a picture. God forbid you share it with other people. Share it to different sites. That's wrong. But then here you have the sadist who wants to film messing with children. And do what with the information? Just look at it? Oh, he's going to do more than just look at it. He's going to want to share it as well. And this is indeed a crime. And if you are partaking in any type of pornography pertaining to a child, watching, sharing, you will be arrested because you're not supposed to be in any possession or viewing any type of nudity with children. And that's common sense. I want to thank you all for joining me. When I get an update pertaining to this story of Mr. Jarvis Young, 40 years of age, ex-track coach, Lakeland, Florida High School, I will bring you that update and said information. Prayers to the victims, prayers for the truth to be revealed, and prayers for justice against this man and any other pedophile and anyone who helped aid him in violation, plural, of a child, children. I will go live a little bit later, and the next subject matter will be pertaining to Mr. Coy Berger, who has not had a visit from his family members, but they've talked on the phone, and also family members wanting cameras in the courtroom pertaining to his trial. And also we'll give a brief update of Mr. Murdaugh and a co-conspirator who's been brought forward on finance charges. And also he's been arrested for some financial improprieties. I'll bring you an update on that a little bit later as well. I'm trying to catch up on all my storylines that I've brought to you. There's so many, and it's always an update pertaining to these heathens. You can't even keep up with the information. But I thank you for tuning in and listening. I will have a movie of the week posted after this live stream. Please take the polls on my community board pertaining to Miss Ruby Frankie and Miss Hilda Brandt. Should they be offered bail, bond? Should Mr. Kevin Frankie get custody of the children? There was a hearing yesterday, and it was postponed for custody of the children and also bail and bond for her and her cohort, Miss Hilda Brandt. I don't believe they should be free, and I also don't believe she should get out of jail, and I don't believe Hilda Brandt should get out of jail, and I do not believe Mr. Kevin Frankie should get custody of his children because he was away from them now 14 months. That is a very long time to have no interaction with your wife or your children. You're hearing a lot of nasty things said and done by this lady, Frankie, in videos that she had on her YouTube channel, 8 Passengers, and it's not good. I was up early this morning listening to content from another network, and those videos are hideous. This lady obviously had a problem before she met Hilda Brandt, and I do believe, yes, the father is a cohort in the ill behavior toward their children and their reprimands for their children and punishments, they're both equally responsible for mistreating the children alongside Miss Jody Hildebrand. Is this another Lori Vallow Daybell that was in the making? I will also talk about that with you guys a little later too. By the grace of God, this child escaped. And no matter what he did or what he thought he did to deserve this punishment, because we hear them talking about that in their connections courses, they were groomed as well. I say it to you enough, you'll believe it. I tell you you're a bad kid, bad person, you can believe it. And I believe that's what happened with the children and this mother and the father and Miss Hildebrand. But what you have to say to yourself, if indeed she has ill will toward her two youngest children, Miss Ruby, what was the reasoning? If they all have the same father, why was she harder on the younger children? And you can't just say the one little boy was bad because they said the girl child was also in the same condition as the boy who escaped. So what is the issue with the two younger children, Ruby, Frankie? Did you not like your children? I think you abused all of your children to some degree. And as one young lady said on her YouTube channel today, it won't be no surprise. It won't be a surprise if you indeed physically abuse your children, because you don't wake up one day binding a child with duct tape, especially a 12-year-old. You've possibly been putting your hands on your children. It just was never filmed on your YouTube channel. And you let that be known that you didn't want people to know that Chad was sleeping in a beanbag for 7 months and sleeping in an open room. You said it twice during that live feed. Oh, the viewers didn't know that. The viewers didn't know that because you didn't want them to know. And you've embarrassed your children royally. We want to talk about all that. How the story came to be that this woman is now on Front Street and in jail with her cohort. Will the judge give this man, Mr. Frankie, custody of his children? I don't think he needs them. Please take the polls on my community board. And matter of fact, before I check out of here, I'm going to go ahead and read some of those polls to give you a general idea of how some of you all think about the given information. Thank you so much for joining me. Hello, Esley. Thank you, sweetheart. I do these polls to show you how some of you think. I do these polls to show you that a lot of the people that are taking the polls are eerily similar to the people that we're talking about in the storyline. Because it was 7% of you who believe Hildebrand and Ruby should get a bond. But then when I went in earlier today, it was down to 2% or so that said, okay, they deserve a bond. So maybe I hit a nerve with some of you. Or more of you voted, hell no, they don't need no bond or no bail. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate it. Yes, many children have been abused by their parents. I was listening to one woman who the title of her video is F You Ruby Frankie. Very deep video, about 11 minutes long or so, where she's recounting her life as an abused child and why she doesn't speak to her mother to this day. And I'm sure when people hear these stories of children being abused, it brings back old memories of how they were treated by their own parents. And it is a shame for anyone to have to break ties with their biological parent, but you do what is best for you, especially if you decide to rear children. Because the one thing you do not want to do is subject your child to abuse by others. You owe yourself and you owe your children more than that. And if you were abused by your mother or father, there's a chance that they would abuse your children as well. But we've seen the flip side of that. Parents showing more favor to the grandchildren than their own damn biological children, which is the weirdest thing I've ever heard. But it happens. Guilt, perhaps, but abuse is abuse. And people need to stand account for how they treat their children, because you cannot change what you do not acknowledge. And those are the great words of Dr. Phil. Let's go to my community board and see how some of you think about these true crime individuals. one story I posted, which was uploaded 2 months ago, videos of boys being sexually assaulted found on phone of Tennessee soccer coach. Please check out that content. If Kevin Frankie is denied custody of his children, where should they go? 48% of you said family member. 45% of you said remain in the state's custody. 6% of you said not sure. Should Kevin Frankie be granted custody of his children? 16% said yes. 61% said no. 23% said not sure. Bail hearing delayed for Ruby Frankie and Jody Hildebrand. Should either one receive bail or bond? 2% said yes, they should get bail or bond. 98% of you all said no out of 91 votes. I'm glad that percentage changed because the last time I checked yesterday it was at 7% said yay for bail or bond, which is very baffling and disturbing to me. That anybody would think that they deserve a bail or bond. And also, 2 days ago, with the latest info revealed by the Cornotto family to 48 Hours, do you think Maddie Mogan was the intended target? 70% said yes, 13% said no, 17% said not sure out of 71 votes. Please watch 48 Hours tomorrow, where you will hear commentary from the Cornotto family and the Gonsalveses, and then giving their personal opinions pertaining to this trial. Some of them want cameras in the courtroom. I'm going to bring you that update a little bit later pertaining to Brian Kohlberger and the family wanting cameras and the judge's concerns pertaining to cameras in the courtroom, which I do not agree with the judge, because in the end, it is best for me to see what I want to see and not what you assume you saw in the court. And comparing this case to O.J. Simpson and all of that is bullshit, because there's always going to be theatrics in the court, either by the judge, the defense, the lawyers, the witnesses, and the suspect if he or she decides to testify. That has nothing to do with the media. That has nothing to do with the family. That has nothing to do with the viewing audience. What you all decide to do in court, that's on y'all. You want to show out, fall out, faint, scream, holler. What does that have to do with me? What does it have to do with the cameraman? Nothing. We would rather be the judge of what we see. I don't want somebody telling me how Kohlberger looked in court or how this Jody and Ruby lady looked in court. I want to see what they look like. I want to see if they're blinking, head up, head down, snoring, falling asleep, whispering to the lawyer, doodling on a pad. Let me see. I don't want you repeating it back to me as a court reporter. Let me see with my own eyes. Because what have I always said about true crime and the world itself? Everything's about perception. What I see, you don't see. What I hear, you don't hear. Cameras need to be in the courtroom for all of these trials. Why not? Let the viewing audience decide what he or she is seeing, not through a messenger. And that's my personal opinion. Thank you all so much for joining me. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Please check out my movie suggestions. The weekend movie for this past weekend was The Spinning Man. Very interesting movie. And I will put up a suggestion today for this week. Like, share, subscribe. Make this content go viral. Make it count. Give your opinion on the post. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution, not the problem. Mind the children. Remember, there's no snitch rule when it comes to children. You speak up, you just may save a life. No such thing as a snitch rule when it comes to children. You can remain anonymous. The children are our future. Please keep that in mind. And always remember, you too was once a child. You've been listening to the Bald Excel.